tutorial, we're going to make this cute little guy fly, and he's going to refire, and he flies. Tilt your mouse up, he goes up. Tilt your mouse down, he goes down. He's got a strafe in midair as well. When that bar in our top left corner goes down to 0, then he glides down to the floor. He breathes fire. First things first, I've got this animation pack of Little Dragon's Tiger that was free on Fab and probably free until the start of June. So this comes with all our little skeletons and our animations. So we're going to go to the third person character, go to blueprints, open up the third person character, select the mesh, and change the mesh to be our dragon. Little dragon, you can choose the realistic one or the simple one or whatever. I'm going to choose this tiger one. And then we're going to spin it around so that its head's on this arrow. And then this capsule that we've got here, it's going to make that half height smaller. And then we're going to grab the mesh and make sure it's inside the capsule. Up. Maybe a bit. Yeah, that seems good. That's going to encompass all. Not really a way of getting a capsule to fit the entire thing. That will work for what we need. Next, I'm going to just move these down, and I want to get the control rotation and right vector, control D that. And from this wheel direction, I'm going to drag off and get a select node. And then we're going to get the movement component and get the movement mode. Put that into the select. This top rotation and right vector, we're just going to put into walking and to falling. And then the bottom one, we're just going to disconnect the X, select the Y, put that into flying and swimming. Then we'll get the select and the movement mode and the character movement, and control D. Put that into wheel direction. Get the control rotation and forward vector. Don't do what I did and copy the right vector at the start. No, it's forward vector and right vector. So right vector first alongside the one that's right vector at the top, then forward vector alongside the one that's forward vector at the top. Plug the Y in on the one that we've copied. So get control rotation, get forward vector, Y pitch, and Z yaw all into the correct nodes. So just X roll is blank. Get the return value, plug that into flying and also swimming. And then the top one that only has the Z yaw connected, put that into walking and into falling. So now we've set up our normal movement and our flying and also swimming movement. This will also work for swimming. We can get on with setting up our flying. So we're just going to put it on an action at the minute to test it. So we're going to press 1 and then get character movement and get set movement mode, and then drop that down to flying. I'm going to open up our content browser, so control and spacebar to open up your content drawer, or come down to the left and open it. I'm going to right click and make a new animation blueprint and select the little dragon skeleton. This will be ABP dragon. And we're going to open that up. And inside here, we're going to right click and get a state machine. And we're going to also drag off there and get a default slot so that we can set up attacks later on as well. This will be our Locomotion state machine, so we can rename that. Open that up, and the first thing that we need to add is a state. We want the idle run walk state. Then we're going to add a new state. This will be our jump state. Then we're going to add a new state. This will be our fall state. Then we're going to add a new state. This will be our land state. Then back to idle walk run. And now we need to decide how we're going to initiate flying. So are we going to initiate flying from a base walk run, or can we only initiate it after a jump? So we're going to do it from a jump. We're going to drag off again, get a flying state, and then we need to decide how we're going to get down. So I'm going to have a stamina bar, so when we're out of stamina, we'll go back to falling. But we also want to be able to just land on the ground as well. I'm going to have a land state as well. So the jump state that we'll have set up, we're going to need some variables. So we're going to go to event graph, and we're going to right click, go to begin play. We're going to get the pawn owner, and we're going to cast that to the third person character. And then we're going to promote that to a variable, and this will be our character. Then we also want the opponent. Get character movement, and we're going to promote that to a variable as well, and that will be our movement. And then right click on the update animation. So event blueprint update animation. We get this delta x node and promote that to a variable. We'll use this in a bit. And then from there, we're going to get as BP third person, drag it out into the world, right click it, convert it to a validator get. And then we're going to get a sequence. So you can drag off and press S to get a sequence. And we're going to get the character movement and get its velocity. So get velocity. And then we want to get the vector XY length and promote that to a variable. And this variable will be ground speed. But then from velocity, we also just want to get vector length and promote that to a variable. This will be our fly speed. And then we want to promote our velocity to a variable as well. Apologies for that. And then on this then one node, we're going to get velocity, right click it to split it. So right click the yellow bit and split it. And from this X, we're going to make a vector. And we're going to do calculate. So from the X, we're going to make a vector, connect the velocity Y into make a vector, but leave the Z blank. And then we're going to do calculate direction. And then get our character and get actor rotation. Then we're going to right click the return value to split it. We're going to make a rotator and connect the X and the Z. Then we're going to plug that rotator into the base rotation, and we're going to promote this to a variable. And this will be our fly direction. And we can put that on 1. And then we just want the ground direction as well. So we can take the majority of this and duplicate it. And we can get rid of make vector. Right click and recombine the pin. Put that into velocity. Get rid of make rotator. Right click, recombine pin. Put that into base rotation. And then we can promote that to a variable, and that will be our ground direction. The reason for that is that our fly direction has an extra axis, so we can go up as well as around and down. So we need to take that into account. We're going to come back to our sequence, press a plus node. We're going to get the character movement and do is flying. And then we're going to promote that to a variable as well. And this will be our flying, or is flying. And connect that to then 2. And then we're going to get character movement again and do is falling. And we're going to promote that to a, and call that is falling. And that can go either on then 2 or a new pin for then 3. Okay, so now we've got the majority of what we need. We can go to Locomotion, and we can do this transition here to jump. So we can grab that, and we can do is falling, and we can get velocity, and right click to split it, and we can check if this is more than 100. So if we're going more than 100 up, then and we're falling, then we are doing a jump. And we can select jump to fall, and this will be an automatic transition. And then jump to flying, we can get is flying and make sure that that is true. Flying to fall, then we can do is flying not Boolean, and is falling Boolean as well. Get those together. Probably don't need actually, we just do straight up fall transition to that. We won't do that. And then fall to land can be is falling not. And then land to idle walk, goods details, select automatic based on. And that's our little loop all set up for us. So now we need to create a blend space, and we need to get our jump animation, our fall animation, our flying animation. Make a blend space. So we go to animation, on our blend space, little dragon skeleton, call it BS Locomotion. And our horizontal axis will be our direction. And that will go to -180 to 180. And not on 80. 80 is insane. 8-way system. And our speed can go to 500. So we want the idles on the bottom. So we want just a normal idle along the bottom. So C idle along the bottom. Put that along each side. So no matter where we are, what direction we're going, if we're not moving, we're idle. And then we want to get the walk. And we want to get the in-place walk forward. So in this animation set, there is a problem with the idle. So you just open it up, and you can see here it's an additive animation. We're just going to choose no additive, save it, and then go back to our blend space. And we're going to get our walk forward. So we've got our walk forward place. I'm just going to put that halfway up. We've got walk left and then walk right. They both go one over from it, so right in the middle. And then walk back, each goes on the far side. We want to get the strafe animation. and we want to get the walk one. We've got all these walk strafes. Go back to our blend space, and we want the southwest strafe. Make sure you get the IP ones, and that goes on the far side in the middle, and then the next one on the left is the northwest strafe, and we want the southeast strafe on the far side, and the northeast strafe. And then along the top, we want the trots. So we want trot north is forward, and trot south is backwards, so they go on the far side. Then we want trot east on the left, and trot W on the right. And then the middle ones is southwest on the left corner, northwest next to that, and then southeast and southwest on the other side. I've got 8-way strafe for our little dude. We'll go back to the ABP, open up walk run strafe. To our assets, find our locomotion, drag that out and plug it in, and then we can get ground speed and ground direction. Press compile, and now we should actually just be able to walk around, except we haven't changed our third person animation group. So go back to third person and find ABP Dragon. And then make sure that it's turned the right way. There we go. So we've got this dragon, it's walking around, that's cool. We just need to reduce the size of the capsule. So we want to just bring the height down a little bit. So we go back to third person dragon, turn the snapping off at the top, bring the legs down a little bit more. Then we can see in the world. There we go. And then if I put him in the world, got a dragon that moves around, it looks pretty cool. Might just need lowering a tinsy bit more, or rotating a little bit forward. Slow him down just a tinsy bit more. Rotate him a little bit forward. Perfect. Okay, so we haven't got a jump yet, or a landed. So we need both of those. If we go back to IBP Dragon, then we can go to our jump, go to our animations, so little dragon animations, type in jump, and this jump in place one has all 3 of our animations. So we can't really use that because we've split this into 3, so we're just going to duplicate that, and then duplicate it again. And we're going to name one of them LD all loop, and then one of them LD land, and then duplicate one more time. I want the original still for this LD jump. So start with a jump, open that up, and we're going to stop it around frame 21 to 22. And then we can right click, remove 27. And then again, let's remove 22 to 26. We just want the bit where he's jumping up in the air. Beautiful. Back to the AVP. Now we've got this jump. Plug that in. Compile. Save. See, we've got a jump. Now we're going to want to do a fall. And we have the fall loop. So we're going to grab the fall loop. And we're going to split that. So it will start, get rid of the first frames. And keep removing until we're just at that point where he's starting to come down. Just a few frames. And then we're going to remove the rest of them. So we only want the one frame where he's falling. There we go. Now I've got a for loop. And then we need a land. So we'll come out again. Go to our land. We also have a land animation that we just need to edit. So about here when we land, frame 30, 31, 32. We're going to then remove all the frames apart from those. So right click, keep removing frames, so you get just the land animation. Perfect. Drag out the land animation and play that. And there we go. We've got a jump and fall and a land. But that's not what we're here for. We're here for flying. So let's do our animations first. That's our third person. Go back to blueprints. We'll make another blend space. You can use the Locomotion blend space. So select it, press Ctrl D. This will be yes, flying. Open that up. And then along the bottom, you can get rid of all of these and all the walks. And we want to just get the fly assets. We want very specific ones. We want the fly forward. Actually, we can get rid of the top run ones that we want as well. We want fly forward at the top. And then we want fly idle along the bottom. So along the bottom, all of them should be fly idle. All the way along, fly idles. And then we want fly back on the corners. And fly left. So fly forward left. Then fly right. So fly forward right. And we'll save that. And then we'll go into fly in on the ABE dragon. Get BS flying. And we want the direction to be the fly direction. And the fly speed to be speed. And we'll click compile. And now we've already settled the event to be on 1. So now we just need to jump and press 1. And we're flying. And tilt the mouse, you go up. Tilt the mouse down, you go down. The only thing that I don't like is I think we've got our animations mixed up on the left and right. Really look like we're turning in the right direction. So let's swap the left and rights. Go back to your flying blend space. And now when I turn the camera left, it arches left. When I turn it right, it arches. This is what we want. Right. flying dragon. Now what we could do is we duplicate our BS flying blend space again. We can call this BS flying strafe. And we can get all our strafe animations. So we can do strafe left, strafe right, and then we've got all the northeast, northwest animations as well. So we want all the southwest ones on the far side, or sorry, the west ones on the far side, so northwest, then southwest, and then southeast on the furthest right side, and northeast on the other one, and then the middle one will be fly strafe forward, fly forward, fly forward, in the middle, and fly backwards on each of the sides. Now we've got a strafe blend space if you wanted to set up like attacks and stuff. So we're gonna grab our strafe blend space, and we still want our fly direction and our fly speed, so we're just gonna get those. And then we're gonna do a switch, and we want to switch on control rotation. So we're gonna go back to our third person character, and we're gonna right click, get mouse event, and the mouse event will be the right mouse button, and when it's pressed, I'm going to get character movement, set control rotation, set use controller desired rotation, and then set orientate rotation to movement, and we're going to do on pressed, we're going to untick rotation to movement and tick control desired rotation, and then we're going to copy that, duplicate it, and swap that around. And then I'm going to promote the use desired rotation to a variable. That variable is just going to be called strafe. I'm going to copy that variable, then make sure that we're setting it at the bottom as well. Back in our ABP, we're going to go to the event graph, add a new pin here, and then as BP third person character, I'm going to get strafe and promote that to a variable here, also called strafe. I'm going to get thens for connect it. You can double click on these pins to reroute them to make it tidier. Then we're going to go back to our flying state at the top, and we're going to get strafe, blend poses by ball. So if we're strafing, then we want the flying strafe, and if we're not strafing, then we don't want the strafe. And now we can test that out. So we can jump, press 1. Now we're not strafing, so I press and hold the key. Suddenly I'll go into strafe mode. Flying backwards, flying forwards, person character. We can get a flip flop here and copy these. So Control D in B and put falling. So now when we jump, press 1, we're flying, press 1 again, we're falling, and we've landed. And just need to make sure that this is actually correct, this transition. So to the falling transition needs to be is not flying and is falling. We'll do this again. So press 1, transition to our falling state, and then do our drop. So we have a flying blend space, we've got a strafe blend space when we're flying, we've got a strafe blend space when we're on the floor as well. So I can show you that now. Press 1, we're in our strafe blend space when we're on the floor. Set that up, and I didn't even tell you. We've got a jump and a land, and we should set up a glide as well. Glide. So from flying, we want to set up a new state. We'll call this glide. And that will only happen when we are finished flying and we go into our glide. We won't trigger our glide straight away. So then once we finish our glide, we go back into falling. And then what we can do is we can get this strafe variable, press Control D to duplicate it, call it glide. Gliding. Then in the transition here, get glide, turn it on. And then in the transition to fall, get glide, say not Boolean. And so now we need a glide. The glide works a little bit different. So we're going to set up blend space first. So we're going to set up a new blend space. We go to animations and animation blend space. And this is going to be our BS glide. So minimum access should be -1. Positive access should be 1. And then get our glide, put it back in the middle. Get our glide left, put it on the left. Get our glide right, put it on the right. You get this error message, don't worry. Come down to where it says blend samples. You might have a sample left in there. Just delete them and put them in again. It happens when you change the access variables. On the glide, we're just going to come down to smoothing time and make it 0.3, just to make the transition between the two very smooth. And then what we need to do is we're going to open up glide. So we need to find it. The little dragons, animations, glide. Because we need to duplicate it. Then we're going to leave the duplicated version alone, go to our normal glide. And we're going to get our additive pose and drop it to local space and select the new glide that we've got by selecting selected animation frame and type in glide. So this will be glide 1 because we've duplicated it. And then in my left, we also need to do the same. So local space, selected animation frame, and glide 1, and then glide right, local space, selected animation frame, and glide 1. Now if we go back to our blend space glide, you can see them being all a bit weird, which is fine. We can come down here and do preview base pose, type in glide, and again it'll be glide 1. Now we've got all the animations will be back working. So click save, go back to ABP Dragon, open up glide. We'll get our blend space glide, and we'll put that in there. And then we need to calculate this glide and how it's going to turn its head based on where we're going. So we're going to go back to our event graph, and we're going to come over here and calculate a new function. So we're going to click plus, and this is going to be called calculate, and we're going to get as the PP Dragon, we're going to get out to rotation, and we're going to split it. So right click it, split it. We're going to then promote the Z axis to a variable. So this will be our new rotation. And then we're going to get our new rotation. And before we set in new rotation, we're going to get new rotation and promote it to another variable. And this will be our previous rotation. And we're going to connect those two up. And then we're going to get our new rotation and our previous rotation and minus them from each other, so subtract. And we're going to promote that to a variable. And this will be your delta. This will be our delta variable. Then at your delta, we're going to do a safe divide against delta time. And then we're going to divide that by 200. And then we're going to clamp the angle between -1 and 1. And this will be our lean. Put that to another variable, and we'll call that lean. And then we'll do a return node. Delete that. And then on the event graph, you can either add a new pin or add it to the bottom. Just going to grab our calculate lean, put it here. But I only really need this to run if we're gliding. So get gliding, do a branch. If that's true, then we calculate. Just to save on performance a little bit. Go to glide state, get this lean variable and put it into glide. And then back in BP third person character, you get another keyboard event. We are going to change these to input events and set it up properly, but right now we're just testing everything. It's quicker and easier to do it this way. Keyboard event 2. We're going to make a new variable. We're going to call this glide. And we're going to set it to true. And then we're going to get character movement. We're going to set the movement mode to falling. And we're going to then set the gravity scale. We're going to put that to 0.25 to make it come down to earth, but not fall straight down. And we're going to increase the air control as well. So set air control. Increase that to 0.7. So it just gives us a finer flexibility in the air. And then we're going to right click and get an event on landed. And when we're landed, we want to set the glide back to 0. And we want to get gravity scale and air control. Duplicate those, pull them up. Set that back to its normal scale, which is 1 for gravity and 0 for air control. And we'll save that. Back in ABP Dragon, we can go back to the event graph. And from as third person character, we can then get gliding. And where we set gliding in our variables, we can grab it out, click set, feed it in. Just make sure that you're setting gliding before you're checking if they are gliding for the lean. So now on number, so I jump, press 1, I go into movement mode, flying. So jump, press 1, go into flying, and I'll press 2. So we know that falling works, but the additive animations are not being friendly to us because we haven't actually applied the additive. So if we go to glide, we right click to apply additive. connect the output to the output, and then at the top we just want glide. So we want glide 1, that's our additive animation, and then we'll try again. So jump, press 1, go up in the air, press 2, we're gliding, you see our head's leaning, we hit the floor, we go back to landed. Hold right, it was our strafing. So to tidy this up, we need to do a couple of things. So we're going to make a new input action. So we're third person, inputs, actions. We're going to just get the jump and change it so we can delete the triggers on here. And then in BP third person character, we're going to create a new variable of an integer, and we'll call this jump count. And then we're going to drag it out and get it. Do a switch on int, and we'll have 0 go to jump, started, go into the switch, and then from jump count, we just need to get a plus plus to increment it, to increase our jump count. And then from the 1, that will go into set movement mode flying on the character movement component. So now, if we double tap jump, then we should be able to go straight into flying, and we don't need this 1 key anymore. Okay. What about if we want to just leave flying altogether and stop gliding and everything like that? So that's like our cancellation button, as it were. So we don't need the other falling movement node. So we just need this code here, and we need to set up a event for that. Now, what kind of event? First off, we need to fix that problem where if we press it again after we land, then it still has the jump count. So get jump count and set it on our event landed setup. Set it to 0. Also, this air control is standard is 0.35. So change that. Now we can jump, and it's all fine. And when we press it again, we're still jumping. Make sure that gravity is too low as well. So we'll default the gravity back to 1.5. And that gives us the same jump again. Okay, cool. Okay, so we need a custom event to be called. So add custom event, reset, flying, flight, what we're going to call it. Plug that in here, get rid of number 2. Jump again. So started, we can get the movement mode. So we can get character movement. And get movement mode. And we can do equals equals. And we can do flying. And we do a branch. And if that's true, then we can do untrue, we can stop. What do I call it? Reset flight. Reset flight. If it's false, then we can just do a switch. So now, if I jump, press it one more time, it'll go into gliding. So this is end flight then, not reset flight. So end flying. a better name for it. So we'll try that again. Press 1. So press space, go into our flight, and then press it again. We're gliding. And then we're not landing. So if we disconnect that, then we can do that, press it, glide, and then we'll go back to that. There we go. So you actually don't need to connect end fly into the switch. You just need to end fly in. Press space. That's more tidy. And then this right mouse button, we can make into a new event and copy IA jump. Just call this IA aim. Open it up. Make sure it's on digital ball, no modifiers, no triggers. IMC, click the plus button, click IA aim. Find the keyboard, select it, right click. So now we can go back to BP third person, we can type in IA aim, and we can get triggered, and we can get, and now now we can jump, we can go into our flight mode, and we can press space to go to our glide. We glide and land, and then we can jump again. And if we hold the right mouse button, we can strafe and go into our glide as well. So now let's create a little stamina bar for our flying. Go to variables, get float, and just call this flying power. And this can default to 100. Seems like a bump. And we're just going to create a custom event here. Custom event. Decrease. Flying power. Like you could call it stamina or whatever you want. And then we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to do set timer by event. And then this event, we're going to get a new custom event. And then this return value, promote this to a variable. This will be our flying timer loop. And this will be looping. Make sure set timer to event is looping. We want 0.1 seconds. And this custom event, we're just going to rename it. And this will be our flying loop. And then all we're going to do is, if we're flying, we're going to get flying power, subtract 1 every 0.1 seconds. Then we're going to set flying power. And if flying power is, so we're going to set flying power to be the subtract. And if flying power is less than or equal 0, get branch. Then we'll get this flying timer loop and clear and invalidate. Clear and invalidate the timer by handle. And then we want to also reset the flying. I change it now to end. Yeah, the end flying. So once this gets to 0, we're going to end flying and go into our glide. So I'm going to use the event tick to check what it is so we can check that it's working. So we get the event tick, get flying power, right click, let print, plug print into the hello string, press play, and now we're flying, but nothing's happening. So we haven't told it to decrease the flying power. So will decrease flying power from the jump event that sets the movement mode to flying. And there we go. It's going down, and then we'll just wait for it to get to 0, and we should go into glide. There we go. Now gliding all the way down. Job's good in. Okay, so that decrease is working, but we want to increase it as well once we have stopped flying. So we want to just take this and duplicate it, nice and easy. We can rename these nodes to be regen flying, and again regen flying, loop, regen flying loop. And rather than flying timer loop, we want this to now be the regen timer loop. And we'll make sure that that's the one that's clear in here. Get that, put that into clear and invalidate. And now instead of minusing, we're going to plus, and we're going to go up by 0.25 every second. So it's not as quick. And then on flying power, we're going to check if it's greater than or equal to 100. Put that into the condition, and we don't need to end flying because we're not flying, we're just regenning. So the only other thing that we need to check is between here and there, if we are flying. So we're going to put an or boolean here. We're going to get character movement and get is flying. Put that in there. So we're going to add 0.25 each time unless it's at 100, and then we'll stop. We could also just do this as a max flying if you ever want to increase your flying time, or we're flying, because if we're flying, we need to stop it so that we're not regenning at the same time. So then on event landed, we can call regen flying and start it just there. So it's not stopped regenning our timer until we actually land. So on the decreased flying power, we also need to add or boolean, and the condition we need to check from character movement is falling. Okay, so we are gliding. I've stopped it. We're down to 80. When we land and we start regenerating back up, we should stop at 100. Yep. Just on regen, I want to get the flying timer and clear and invalidate that as well. Just at the start. So when we start regenerating our health, so normally when we land, we're not going to be going down anymore either. Just to make sure it doesn't go above 100, we're going to get a clamp here. We're going to clamp this float, put that into the return value. We're going to clamp this float between the plus and the set flying power, between a 0 and 100, and then plug flying power back into the more than or equals to. That just means it can't go above 100. That stops that. And we can also stop it going below 0, but too much of a big deal. It's okay. So between 1 and movement, we're going to get a branch, and then we're just going to check if we are gliding. If that is false, then we'll do flying and decrease flying power, but right now we won't do anything. Okay. That stops it going down when we press space by mistake. That's all that tidied up. We've put all that into input actions. And now if we right click, we can do left mouse button and we can get a play montage. We can get the mesh and we should get a montage. So we want to add an attack, little dragons, animations, a common, we want fireball attack. So we're going to right click that, create an anim montage, then find it. There we go. Now if we test that, we can do mouse button, pepper breath, pa, pa. That is our fireball. Now we can do an actual fireball, or we can do a flamethrower, depends on what you fancy. And do that also in the air. Look, see? So I'm thinking we're going to just do a super simple like flamethrower. So we're going to do cascade, not particle. So spawn particles, spawn emitter at location. And we've got fire here. And the location will be our mesh, and it'll be get socket location, one head. That's the location. Let's see what that looks like. Do third person. But now it looks like its head's on actual fire. So we're gonna do plus 100 on the X, and nothing on anything else. And then maybe we'll rotate it. Let's have a look how that looks. That looks better, honestly. Okay, so the problem is that it's spawning ahead of wherever the X is. So we get rotation of the character. Get to rotation. Then we want to get forward vector. And we're gonna times that, and we're gonna add that to this, and we're gonna right click that. I'd say 10. Now when we try it, it'll always be just right in front of us. So we're just going to change that to add 100 times 100 again. Now that's always in front of us. Might put that up to 150 actually. Maybe 200. Try 200. What does that look like? 200 is too far. 125 seems about right. We'll do that. And there we go. 125. And we can get the actor rotation and put that into rotation so that the particle always looks decent. Not like it's coming back on us. It's fine. And then we're just going to promote the return value of this to a variable. Call this the fire breath. So now we're going to do a spear trace by channel. And the start is going to be from this add, so that where the flames are. And the end is also going to be the same, and the radius will be 50. And draw debug for duration. And when we press 1, we got a little spear. Things that are there. Gotta be careful that it doesn't hit the floor, so we just need to raise it up a little bit. So we go back to our third person character, and we can just use this by like 40. That'll be fine. It's not going to hit the floor, but it's still going to hit any enemies though, or anything that are in front of us. Get the return value, get a branch, out hit, do break hit, and then hit actor, you can just apply damage. From there, we can do delay 0.5 seconds, get the cascade particle, and we can say destroy. So we also need to do that from false as well. So if it doesn't hit anything, we're also destroying. 0.5 might be too short actually. 1 seems like a good amount. There we go. And now we can get rid of the event tick. Let's do our print because we don't need that anymore. And we can make a fly-in widget. So we're going to create a new folder called widgets. Right click it, go to, I'm going to create 2 widgets. User interfaces, widget blueprint. Have one WBP HUD, and then another one. So right click, go down to user interface, widget blueprint, user widget, WBP HUD, and another one, widget blueprint, WBP flying bar. Open that up, we're going to get a progress bar. Put that in there and make it yellow. And we'll make it 1. And then this will be our flying progress bar. Rename the top variable. And then inside our HUD, open that up. We want a canvas panel. And we want our flying progress bar. Or our flying bar. That's smaller or bigger as we want. And then inside of third person, on begin play, I'm going to create a widget, get the HUD, and we're going to add 2 viewports. And save that. And then we need to promote this return value to a variable. Rename that. This will be our HUD reference. And whenever we update our bar, so we're going to a new custom event, date, HUD. We're going to get the HUD reference, and we're going to get the WBP flying bar, and then from there we're going to get flying progress bar and set percent. And that percentage will be our flying power, safe divided by 100. That's our max. If you had another max, you'd put max in here. And now when we fly, we've not told it to do anything, so update hood. I'm going to call update hood and duplicate that and call it on the regen as well. And also from end flying, put it in, and from the clear and invalidate to update hood, so we capture the zeros. There we go, it's going down, and when it reaches 0, we'll go into our glide. Then we touch the floor and it goes back up slowly. And that's a full glide and flying system with jumps and how to set up small attacks and strafes as well for dragons. So, thank you very much.